Hey everybody, it's Chugga Conroy. Welcome back to more Pokémon Colosseum. In the last episode, we took care of a bit more bonus material, and I left us on the cliffhanger saying that we didn't have all that much more to do, and then proceeded to leave for PAX East and did not come back for a week. In this episode, after all the suspense that I've left you in, all two of you that really care about this bonus stuff, I would like to say that I have taken my time. I have taken the liberty of off-screen purifying every Shadow Pokemon except one. That Tyranitar. Evis's Tyranitar, the ultimate Shadow Pokemon. Now, I have an extra Time Flute that I've never used. I used one on my Grand Ball that I used on my team, but I never did use the other one that I collected. So how about we go ahead and purify the final Shadow Pokemon at long last. Here we go. Let's go ahead and use a Time Flute. And listen to the melody. There we go. All 48 Shadow Pokemon are now purified. What do you get for doing this? Well, in the Japanese version of Pokémon Colosseum, there would be a bit more of an immediate reward. If you pre-ordered the game, you would get yourself a bonus disc that, once you had fully purified all the Shadow Pokemon, you could then reinsert into your GameCube after the game's release, with the memory card inserted that has all the Pokemon purified, and you'd be able to transfer Celebi to your game. Which, I'm sure all American gamers hate Celebi so much who are ever trying to legitimately complete their Pokedex, because Celebi is widely regarded as the toughest Pokemon to get. In Japan, it's not so hard, but here, the only time Celebi was ever available at all for, God, like a decade after its reveal, was the 10th anniversary party at the Decade in New York, or in that, like, you know, that touring convention, and just, like, you know, who got to go to that, really? Whereas in Japan, they gave it out with Colosseum. In the American version, unfortunately, you can't do what I'm showing on screen right now. That is not normally accessible in any way, shape, or form. Instead, now that we have purified every single Shadow Pokemon, we now need to go to Mount Battle to claim our prize. But the thing is, I don't want to head off to Mount Battle quite yet. I want Mount Battle to be the very last thing that we tackle. So let's not do that right now, okay? Instead, I should mention that even though Japan got that bonus disc that gets you a Celebi for purifying all the Shadow Pokemon, we didn't necessarily get gypped either. We also got a bonus disc, but it differed greatly from Japan's, and that is what I would like to show you next. All the way back in 2004, had you pre-ordered this game, this is what you would have gotten for your... Whoa! Sorry about the glitchiness there. Yes, I like how there's a progressive scan mode for a pre-order bonus. Really? Okay, we'll do that. But yes, had you pre-ordered the game back in 2004, this is what you would have gotten for your trouble. You would have gotten yourself, first off, a trailer for the game. While this might be pretty inconsequential, I'd like to show this anyway. You may skip over it if you'd like. It's about a minute long, so check it out.
In a new world, with new faces and new adventures, one will rise to the challenge. In an all-new role-playing adventure taking place in a whole new region, Pokémon come to life like never before. Travel to the farthest corners of a wild world, explore new towns, meet fascinating trainers, and uncover mischievous plots. A sinister organization is using Pokémon to realize their plans for world domination. These Pokémon have been misled as the organization attempts to create the strongest Shadow Pokémon. It's up to you to restore balance to the Pokémon world. Seek out the Shadow Pokémon and snag them. Once captured, put forth all of your efforts to purify them of the Shadow. It's time for a new hero, with new friends to battle new foes. Let the adventure begin. Bring your battle to the big screen with supercharged Pokémon battles. Ruby and Sapphire Pokémon, new 2-on-2 battles, and fabulous arenas beckon you to prove your Pokémon mastery. Big adventures and massive battles. the new world of Pokémon explodes onto the Nintendo GameCube with Pokémon Colosseum.
A little cheesy. Okay, a lot of cheesy. But still, I thought it was cool back in the day. The second thing you get on this pre-order bonus is a trailer for Pokemon Jirachi Wishmaker, which was a movie that was coming out at the time, which I was looking forward to, but honestly, having seen all the Pokemon movies today, I rank it second from the bottom. The pacing was just awful. I don't know why. Plus, I don't even like Max, and the movie was primarily about him. I would show you this trailer, but the animation studio that does the Pokemon anime is really touchy about copyright. Plus, I try not to infringe copyright by uploading TV shows and that kind of stuff to my channel, because that's kind of a dumb thing to do when you want to keep your YouTube channel up. Okay, so I'm not going to do that. But what I am going to show is that right here, this is your third bonus. In place of Celebi, we got Jirachi. If you lived in Europe, this was in Pokemon Channel, which is a really weird game that they released for the GameCube. But in Japan, they didn't get anything like this, and, you know, I said that Celebi was really elusive over here. Well, Jirachi was actually really elusive over in Japan for a long time, for the exact same reason, because we got Jirachi on our bonus disc, whereas Japan did not. But yes, you have to connect your Game Boy to your GameCube with your Game Boy Advance to GameCube link cable, or Wii, really, if it's got the GameCube backwards compatibility. And it will also mention the Berry program will be updated. Back when Ruby and Sapphire came out, after about a year, berries would stop growing and the real-time clock in Ruby and Sapphire would stop moving. Very few things in Ruby and Sapphire used the real-time clock because there was no day or night system, but yeah, this would fix it for you. There were a lot of other ways that you could fix it, like a distribution disc that would give you a shiny Zigzagoon holding a Ganlon or Salac berry back in the day, which I do have, actually. But anyway, you just go ahead and do this. You connect it. That looks very cool. So now that we have a Jirachi for our party in our Ruby or Sapphire game, whichever your preference is, I'd like to head to Fennec City now that we have purified all the Shadow Pokemon. Now, you only need to have beaten Evis if memory serves me on this. Once you have purified, once you have purified all of the Shadow Pokemon, or rather, any Shadow Pokemon for that matter, I should say, you can go down here. You can now link up with a Ruby or Sapphire game with a GCN to GBA link cable. You can come down here and you can trade Pokemon that you have obtained in Colosseum over to your Game Boy Advance game. If you can believe me, this was the only way that you could obtain like 90% of the Johto Pokemon back in the day. They wanted you to get Colosseum, wanted you to get a Game Boy Advance to GameCube link cable, a GameCube if you didn't own one, and then link them up. Yeah. The days before the GTS, they were dark times. Really dark times. But that's really all there is to show there. We have fought Shady Guy in Outskirts Dan. I've showed trading in Fennec City with Game Boy Advance games. We finished up everything at Real Game Tower. I suppose I could go and rematch Evis if I really wanted to, but I don't really see much point in it. Pyrite Town, we did the Colosseum Challenge there. The Under, we did the Colosseum Challenge there. Shadow Pokemon Lab, we went and got ourselves our Shadow Starter. Snag'em Hideout, we got ourselves the other Shadow Starter that we never got, and we also fought Gonzap, and even though I lost, I made mention of all of his Pokemon. We have purified every single Shadow Pokemon in Agate Village. So all that leaves is Mount Battle, the final stop on our adventure before we have 100%. Now, Pokemon Colosseum, if you did not know, has two modes. It has a story mode and a battle mode. Battle mode is basically Pokemon Stadium 3, whereas story mode is what I've been playing for you guys from the beginning. In Mount Battle and story mode, you get Poke Coupons for playing well. I do not have any Poke Coupons. But what I can show you is, you have these prizes. You have TM29 Psychic, you have TM13 Ice Beam, TM24 Thunderbolt, TM35 Flamethrower, and TM32 Double Team. really good TMs here, if I do say so myself. This is where you get the good TMs. If you don't want to use Fire Blast like I did, this is where you get Flamethrower. If you want Thunderbolt and Ice Beam, you know, for Bolt Beam combo, this is where you get it. The Ganlon Berry, a very elusive berry that is otherwise only available through that shiny Zigzagoon distribution that I spoke of earlier, is here, as is the Salac Berry, same thing. Actually, wait, you can get these in the Battle Frontier in Pokemon Emerald, but they didn't exist at this point in the series, if you're talking about it new. You can also get the Pitaya and Apricot Berry, which at this point in the series were not available in any other way besides this. But in Emerald, you could get them for collecting all the Frontier symbols. You can get leftovers here, the Mental Herb to snap out Infatuation, the Focus Band, the White Herb, the Quick Claw, Bright Powder, King's Rock, Scoblens, Choice Band. Okay. So, pretty much any good hold item you can think of is here. There's much easier ways to get these now. I mean, heck, now we have, like, Black City and Pokemon Black where you can, like, buy most of these items. But back then, it was a lot more difficult to get multiple ones of those items if you wanted them, plus TMs were consumable back then. So any of you started the series with Black and White, you have it so easy compared to kids of 10 years ago. But anyway, should you clear Mount Battle and get all the way to the 100th floor, your reward in story mode is nothing more than a Time Flute. Now, keep in mind that I've already purified all the Shadow Pokemon, so even if I were to go do that, it would be really, really useless to me. And the first time I played through this game, I did clear Mount Battle on story mode after I'd already purified every Shadow Pokemon, assuming that only 2 Time Flutes were in the game. And when I got a Time Flute from the item box on the 100th floor, I was pretty freaking pissed off. Granted, I got a lot of experience for my Pokemon, but still, I was not very happy. But, those of you are probably screaming at me in the comments to just show this already. I did say that there is a battle mode in the Colosseum. Let's go ahead and enter the Colosseum Battle. So, here we have a lot of things. We have the solo battle, which allows us to enter Colosseum battles with our Pokemon Colosseum team. You have the Colosseum Battle. You can register Pokemon from a Game Boy Advance game so that you can have it on your memory card without having to connect your Game Boy Advance every single time, similar to how Pokemon Stadium worked. You have the same Pokecoupon exchange that I spoke of. You have the Mount Battle, 1 versus 100, not with Bob Saget, unfortunately. And then you have continuing a suspended Colosseum challenge, so you can save your Colosseum challenges and resume them later, just like you did in Pokemon Stadium. Over here, we have the Gang Battle, so if you want to do multiplayer battles up on the big screen, you can also use Pokemon Colosseum for that. Unfortunately, there is no kids club with a bunch of little mini-games where you're playing as Hitmontops or Magikarps or Rattatas or anything like that. Colosseum is just battle, and battle some more. So, some people think that this is inferior to Pokemon Stadium in that respect, and I can kind of agree there, because Stadium had some nice distractions from just battling all the time, whereas this doesn't. But what we want to do is we want to go register our Pokemon. We want to register from Pokemon Colosseum. This is very important. If you want the reward for clearing Mount Battle and purifying all the Shadow Pokemon, you cannot use GBA Pokemon. You must use Pokemon Colosseum. If you would like to use your team from your Ruby, Sapphire, Emerald, Fire Red, or Leaf Green, which this game does sync up with Fire Red and Leaf Green, by the way. Even though this was released before those games, it does work. You must trade them in the Fennec City Pokemon Center from your GBA game to Pokemon Colosseum and then use them, okay? So you can use outsider Pokemon, just not directly in this way. So we're going to go ahead and register our Pokemon. I also like how there's a backslash right there. Anyway, so here we go. What we'll be doing is, up to you if you want to do singles or doubles, does not matter which. I also like how Plusle and Minot are shaking their butts at Volbeat and Illumise, and they look so insulted. We're going to be challenging Mount Battle next time on Pokemon Colosseum. See you guys then.